All right, welcome into another 5 Minutes with Sean, maybe 10 sit-down edition. We've been having a lot of fun with the sit-downs this year. We've been having a lot of guests on, and the fun part is they're bringing the topic. And so today we have Laurie Halter, the CEO of Charisma Communication. Laurie, how are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm so happy to be on because you and I actually met this year over LinkedIn. So I think it's so fun, all the different connections that I've made this last year during the pandemic.
It's so weird that I had this conversation with somebody the other day about it doesn't feel like that because I feel like the pandemic it put 2 years on your body, like
Totally.
minimum, right? And so
Yes.
I feel like we've all been kind of doing this for much longer than that of a year.
Completely.
So, yeah.
Totally. I was thinking that the
being
other day because one of my biggest posts a year ago, biggest meaning like most followers,
Sure.
was my summary of NADA. And then I'm like, wait, no, we didn't have NADA last year. And I'm like, no, we actually did. It's only been a year, guys. It's only been a little over a year, like, which is so crazy.
It's absolutely nuts for sure. So, as customary this year, you know, we like to have the guest pick the topic here.
Yeah.
So, what is it that you want to talk about today on the show?
Okay, so this is hilarious. I came on with the idea to talk about balance, but don't write that down because I just got off of an amazing clubhouse room with Michelle Denagine. It's the Inspiring Women in Voto, and we talked about imposter syndrome. And I was like, nope, I want to talk about imposter syndrome. I think this is a way cooler topic, way more meaty, and way more like based on where I am in my life right now. So I thought we'd talk about that.
Right. So why don't you go ahead and define it for us? You talk about the topic, imposter syndrome. What's the context behind the phrase?
Yeah. Okay. So I probably will not do it justice, but the overall theme is this idea that no matter where you are in your career, you feel like you're kind of a fraud or a fake, and that whatever you're doing, that you're not good enough to be doing what you're doing or where you are. And interestingly enough, it happens more disproportionately to high achievers than anyone else. So it's like this really interesting idea that the people who are achieving the most are the ones who think that they're doing the least, or that they should deserve it or afford for it the least.
Well, I will tell you something. I've been having a discussion like this similar with my therapist, Jessica, who I had to kick off my year with, and she tells me that it's because I'm coming up on a milestone birthday, be turning 40 here in a couple weeks.
Yes.
And she's like, this is happening to you when you start. I was having more existential crisis, right? I was like, what's my place in life? Have I done anything? What is this? And she was like, geez, slow down. Like it's all par for the course. But I think the idea that people are not satisfied, right, with where they are and their plot in life, it makes the when you first said the phrase, my first reaction was that sounds like it sounds negative, right?
Mm-hmm.
It sounds because it's a syndrome or because it's something like it's imposter and something.
I think imposter,
you know? Right? Is it if I do suffer from it, is this a problem for me? How did you guys get on the topic? Like, where did it come from as far as throughout your conversations to lead you?
Yeah, so I think we got onto it because I think all of the women in the room, so there were 10 total speakers in the room, and we're talking like Carrie Wise, Michelle Denagine, like Liza Borges, really, really big names and amazing women in automotive. And we're saying we all feel this, at this point in their life. And speaking of you even talking about kind of the middle age piece, Sue Lynn was saying, like one of the speakers, Sue Lynn was saying, look, it's not just even imposter syndrome. It goes like to a whole nother level, which is called the murky middle. And it's exactly what you're talking about. It's exactly this. You get to a certain stage in your career and you're like, oh, I feel like I feel like an imposter. Am I doing enough? But then the second murky middle piece is like, have I gotten far enough? Am I doing something that provides value, whether to like society or the community or myself? Like, am I fulfilling? I think in our 20s, we just were climbing the ladder. Through your 30s, you're still doing that. I think once you hit like 35 to 50, you're kind of like, wow, I made it. For most of us, it's like, I'm in a pretty good spot in my career now. Is this actually where I wanted to end up and what I want to be doing? Is it bringing me like personal fulfillment? And it kind of went down the rabbit hole to this other thing that's my big topic this year, which is authenticity, right? And bringing your authentic self to whatever you're doing, whether that's your family, your work, childhood role, your role with your children. You and I kind of have an ongoing joke about getting outside, so the work-life balance. It's just this idea that like no matter where you are, are you the same person at work as you are at home?
My wife would tell you that unfortunately I very much am. I'm very
good.
much what you see on TV is what you get behind the screens, what you get in the middle of the woods. I'm someone who, if I can't be honest with you, I probably aren't, or I'm not engaging with you because it doesn't. I gave up trying to be someone different in my 30s, to be honest with you. Right when I turned 30, I had this whole thing of where I thought I'd be in my life, and it was based on such, I don't know, nonsense. It was based on things that weren't even legitimate, just based on things I was reading or seeing. And it was just, you were setting this arbitrary benchmark for yourself that had no context as to how I was raised, middle-class America. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like you started on some rung of the ladder. You just started where most people start, in the middle of the ladder. And you went through it. So when you talked to Liza, right? I love Liza. She's so awesome. She brings so much value every single time. Yeah. She was the closer of this year's Card-Based Chronicles. She's unbelievable. And she brings amazing. So much value. And she talks about it. She talked about it on my show. And I think I saw a post from you just before we started here about kind of your rundown from that room. Yeah. And it was really, it spoke to it. Liza talks about when she was on my show, she said, look, Sean, I'm glad you're doing this for women, but can't we just be the card business? And I said, absolutely. I don't want to do it like this ever again either. And I wasn't trying to pander to females. I was just trying to highlight. But I realized how that could come across as pandering and something that people are doing. Oh, you're on the women bandwagon. These shows actually get worked out really well in advance. So that's not like I was trying to be on a curve. I just thought it would be important to bring it. But when she said it, I thought, damn, she's right. It should be about people of automotive. It shouldn't have to be specific. It should be about what you bring and your values. So, Laurie, in your life, when you look at the imposter syndrome or the murky middle, which do you think applies most to what you're dealing with for you currently? And how are you sort of navigating your steps forward?
Yeah, totally. Well, the murky middle, I'd never even heard that before. And I was like, okay, I need to go. I haven't had a chance because it was just this morning, but I need to go check this out because I was like, this sounds exactly where I am right now. So I think that sounds the most to me because and it's really what started the Careering podcast. It's all about leading women and how they're making their life work. I found myself about a year and a half going, okay, I really like the public relations business I have and we're really good at it. And I feel good about where I am with that, but what's next? What is new? Is there something new? Is there something more I can be giving? And it's funny because if you look at the history of if you look back in journals from like 15 years ago, I was writing things like, how can I help support and grow leading women? How can I bring together women to make something better? And so it's always been there, right? But I think I was just working on my career, trying to make sure that I wasn't losing my agency, just getting that next client. And now I've been able to be comfortable enough and confident enough in where I am in my career that now it's like, about 2 years ago, it was like, what else can I bring to the table? And what I could bring to the table was the podcast.
And how long have you had your PR firm?
I've had my PR firm since I opened it in 2003. And so I've had it like 2 decades. And talk about being authentic. I've said this on a couple of different podcast interviews and stuff. So everyone may be like, yeah, here's our story again. But I was 23 and I was working a 9-to-5 job in a tech company. And I just felt like something wasn't right. I'm like, I just can't, I don't like this for some reason. And there's no reason I shouldn't like this. I had a great boss. The agency was fantastic. I was moving up the ladder super quick. And I just realized that I needed to work for myself and that I think that I would be an entrepreneur. I'd be better as an entrepreneur. And I made the jump and I've never looked back. And to have at such a young age, just kind of this feeling of there's got to be more. And then to actually go find it. I kind of look back and I'm like, wow, that was a really big jump for me, but I'm so glad I did.
Yeah, but stuff we forget when we come up on this idea of an imposter syndrome, right? Is we don't give ourselves the credit and the context. In your case, for 18 years of running a business, and being on your own and taking that jump from what I assume was a perfectly cushy, perfectly job for you and for your future family and how you look to grow your life, etc. And so I think it's important that people not forget that.
Yes.
I definitely like the fact that we're able to do what we do for the podcast and how we do it, because it's something that, look, like you said, we got clients, right? I mean, this does not, I don't take any advertising. This is not making money, you know, this little thing we do here. This is just for fun and voice of people and all of that. But you still have a job. And I wouldn't, I said this on a post the other day to somebody, I wouldn't be on social media. I certainly wouldn't have my podcast if I didn't have my own business. If I worked for somebody else doing the job I was doing before as a consultant to people on somebody else's dime, I would do the job, clock out, and never look at my phone.
Right. Absolutely.
Ever. Like, it would eliminate, the only problem I got in my life is my cell phone. It's the only problem I have. It's as deep addiction as I've ever run in my life, and I cannot bust it. And my wife begs me to bust it. I beg her to help me bust it. We just can't. We can't, but I will. But my point is, I wouldn't do that working for somebody else.
But here's an interesting thought, even down the cell phone topic, because I'm the same. Like, I'm on LinkedIn all the time, almost like it's my own social media channel, like Facebook or something. And I'm like, when did this start and how did this happen? But I think I'm almost like tired of, this comes along too with getting older. I'm almost tired of apologizing for that. Like, can we all see that as a strength, right? Like, how that has helped me in so many ways and created so many relationships, the social media channels, and so many true friendships and opportunities that I wouldn't have had. And so I'm kind of honestly getting over even the idea of feeling badly about those things, because when I look at how they make up my total life, there's been some really fantastic opportunities and things that have come from that.
I completely agree. The argument exists. I brought that argument to Jessica, and she was like, well, that's what you would say if you didn't want to change your behavior. And
I'm like, trying to keep your addiction.
I'm like, look, you're not, she's not wrong. It's because all her point is, and you've already said the word a couple of times, is balance.
Yeah.
Is that there should be times when you don't have it, and you are, and I am. When I'm in the woods, when you guys see that stuff, that video is being shot from my phone. The only time it comes out of my backpack is for that minute and a half, and then it goes back.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And you hike for miles on end, and you're never in the damn thing, because I don't take pictures while I hike. I don't do that. I hike and take what's in.
You enjoy.
You clear the mind, and so you really understand that. You get that. So when you talk about balance, the way that you brought it up, and you talk about the cell phone, right here you are.
Yeah.
How do you work the balance in your life, Laurie, with regards to the PR, the empowerment, the social movement in which you're a part of, right? I mean, how do you, and it sounds like you're a mother as well. How does one do all that? Because I don't have kids, and so I am always in just admiration of those who do and see them to manage it all. So how do you do it?
That's so great. Well, I was fortunate enough to have my company before my kids were born, so I was able to kind of set up a system that worked even before they came into my life. And the beauty is, I've had my company the whole time since they've been born. So I've been able to really be a part of all those big moments that I wouldn't have wanted to miss working for company. So I feel so fortunate for that. But I'm a big believer in the time block idea. So like in the morning when I'm helping my kids get ready for school, generally I'll be checking a couple of emails, but I'm not being very proactive about work. And if calls are coming in and I know they're work calls, I just kind of let them go to voicemail. Then once the kids go to school from like 9 to 3, that's my go time. That's my time to and I don't do anything during that time other than work. Now I do LinkedIn. I have LinkedIn on all day long, and a lot of times in the mornings I'll do a post or I'll do a video or, but I kind of almost see that as my work almost anymore. Like, it's fun and it's friends, but I almost see that as another aspect of my work. And then once my kids come home at like 3, that really then becomes like time to hang out with them, time to run any errands, get dinner ready. And I actually am really good about 7 o'clock at night, I put my cell phone, I put it away. I put it on the charger and it goes away until the next morning. So really, I'm a huge believer in chunking time blocks for things.
If I could put my cell phone away at 7 p.m., my wife would. She would probably bake me a cake every day for the rest of my life. If I could mean to even pull. The problem with it is that so you're in Pacific time, so this. I have clients who are there and then up in Canada as well as in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So when it's 7 o'clock for Sean, he'd like turn his phone off. It's 5 o'clock for you, and you got something to say, or you want to do something. I'm like, yep. And it's 6 hours to life from my
so
house.
good.
Things get even more jacked up. But again, I find that those just continually be excuses, because the reality is, and maybe you can speak to this too, is that every phone call or email or text that I might miss, let's just say it took me 12 hours to get back to someone, which it does not. But let's just say, let's just say that it did. There's never been a fire that had burned itself down in 12 hours that I couldn't have actually taken care of the next morning.
Well, and the beauty is, and my clients are going to kill me for saying this, but the beauty is you actually do set your own boundaries. So what happens is after a while, they're like, okay, we can't connect with Laurie until after, noon Eastern. 9 o'clock is noon Eastern. But it's like they kind of learn that, like, I am on deck for them noon to, let's see, what's 4 o'clock here, noon to 7 Eastern time. I am in it. But if you catch me outside of those hours, unless you've literally rung me up and said, CNN called and wants to do an interview in the morning, okay, I'll call you back and we'll prep for that. But like, if it's anything outside of something crazy like that, I'm getting back to them the next day. And I think this always on kind of technology, the ability for us, I took emails off of my phone. Best thing I've ever done. I took Outlook off of my phone completely, to where when I'm not in my office, I'm not getting emails. And it is amazing. Like, it's incredible. You get your life back. So, I think this always on culture. And this goes back to what I started with the whole being authentic, right? Like, I think we're all just so afraid to mess up in some way versus just live the life and do the business and be the person that we are.
Yeah, I agree. But I wanted to say to you that when you say that and you start talking about it, I start thinking to myself, all right, so I do that. But then I feel like what you started this with was the imposter syndrome. I feel like that would start to creep in on me, right? Because that's how weirdly balanced you try to be in your life. But you're like,
yeah.
All right, so I'm going to take a few steps down and I'm going to chill out. I'm going to let this come to me. But then in the back of my head, I'm like, but are you doing everything you could be doing? Who you say you are, Sean? Is this really? And it's like, well, shit, man. Yeah, this is who I am. So it's I love it though. I love the topic. I love the idea that people can sit and they can look at who they are, look at where they've been in their lives. Look, I think if you haven't dealt with imposter syndrome, you haven't probably been paying attention.
Right. I think and your authenticness for you, maybe being on your cell phone from morning till night and being there for your clients and there for anyone who reaches me, that is your authentic self. So when I say bring your authentic self, I'm saying bring all of the things about yourself and the way you work and the way you create friendships and the way you relate to people in your world. Just be as true as possible to that element. And then I think you're successful. So yours may be, and you can tell your wife this, yours may be being on your phone all day. Maybe that's part of being authentically you that doesn't necessarily need to be taken away or fixed.
Yeah, I think the authentic me includes a couple of addictions, and I think that's part of the problem, Laurie. I think that's part of I need to manage, It's what it comes down to, is that to me, that's what it is. And I think for me to be authentic, I need to be true to the fact that negative things exist in my history, in my life, things I've been through that can create if I don't pay attention, if I don't, do the certain things. And I think it's important that people do that though. And it's not easy to be your authentic self. We started the podcast, I think this is episode 179, 180.
Wow, congratulations.
And thank you. And we do it every Monday. So it's 180 straight Mondays we've been doing this little thing.
Amazing.
And when we started it though, the whole reason I wasn't on social media for the first 2 years is because I didn't think that me being my authentic self was going to be good for anybody, especially for a business that was 18 months old, had just got by $1 billion company and was trying to set its course and be who it wanted to be. I didn't think being me on social would be that. It turns out it was the best thing we could have ever done because people approach us having already seen us. And so if you watch the first 3 episodes or listen to the first 3 episodes, because it was audio only, if you listen to the first 3 episodes of the podcast, by the end of episode 3, you will have decided in less than 40 minutes if you actually want to talk to me ever again, do business with me ever again, or listen to my content, because I did it for a reason. I front-loaded the dramatics and the idea of who I am at the most authentic core so that if you were turned off, that'd be great. Because then it
That's
wouldn't
true.
have to bother me, and I wouldn't have to go through qualifying you and talking to you. It would just
That's
be
right.
for me and my brand if you would just decide you didn't want to work with us.
Yeah, you're almost like vetting out the people automatically to where by the time they're coming to you, they've already seen you, they know your personality, they know your work style. So of course you'll probably get along with them because they're coming to you based on the real you, not the Sean that's like presenting himself professionally to the world. I mean, you are professional, but like corporate humdrum to the world.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, corporate, no, right? But yeah, the idea of what we do is that way. And because everything we do at CarBiz runs through me. So all we do, we produce 300 videos a month for our clients.
Wow.
And when we produce those, it's my video, it's their screen, it's their data, my voice, my screen, my interaction. That's because without it, my company can't be authentic. I can't.
Yes.
It's not that I don't think I can trust someone. It's that I just don't think anyone can bring the volume of passion that I have for what we're doing here.
Right.
It's pretty boring. You know what I mean? It's data. It's it'll bore the shit out of people. But I try to have as much fun with data as possible so that you're engaged, right? And
that's it.
I think being authentic though, there's drawback, right?
Yeah.
I think the drawback is that you've got to be prepared for the blowback or the haters or the trolls, or the people who have, nothing better to do with one's life.
Right.
Talk to me through how do we stay authentic in the face of trolls? What
I actually have a great, I have a huge thing on this because I have had trolls in numerous ways. Numerous ways. I'm thinking about even the men that are on LinkedIn, like, oh, hey, you look beautiful today. It's
I'm so sorry. I don't think I've ever said this to any woman on our show before. I am so sorry for the male race, for the robot male race, for whoever is responsible.
It's crazy.
It's terrible.
It is crazy.
And guys get them, but they're not like that. They're more like, oh, hey, are you interested in polymers? And you're like, polymers, like not measured polymers. Oh, and are you married? You're like, okay, great.
Yeah, no, totally.
All right, so trolls, how do we balance?
I will say trolls so I actually have had a couple, and here's what I think. I'm like so excited. I celebrate trolls because that means that I've moved beyond my friends and family. My message is out there. And so not everyone's going to agree with me, and that's okay. That's actually great. I was so excited the day I got my first negative comment that I actually did a video and spread it all across social media and was like, thank you, hater. I'm so stoked. Like, my message is getting past all my sweet friends and family that are like, go, Laurie, we're so excited to hear your message. So I tend to think of negative comments and haters and trolls in a totally, totally different way. And I think it's a fantastic thing to have.
So the celebration of the troll, for me, I don't actually deal with it that much.
Yeah.
It doesn't really come my way for whatever reason. Again, maybe it's because I'm not a good target, or maybe it's because I don't.
No, it's great.
I've given myself, made it obvious that I don't give a shit. But it does happen, and unfortunately, I've had my problem, Laurie, is that I upset big companies.
Yes, I'm sure.
So my trolls are CEO of large companies.
I feel like you're disrupting.
Because I was gonna do your part, right? I had this big long email with a big tough guy CEO who was telling me I couldn't say what I was saying, and so I was gonna post it.
Yeah.
I went to my wife, and she's like, I don't think so. She said, but you have one more call to make, and that's my lawyer. I'm not stupid. I do what I do for a living for a reason. I make sure I protect myself.
Yeah.
The lawyer, he's like, I don't think so. I don't think he posted it. And I said, but look, you can see in the post, this is all him. Look at this aggressive nonsense. Like, this is obvious. He's like, yes, all agreed. Doesn't matter. Like, I wouldn't, because it was done during in-message, which is more of a private channel. It was all this kind of, gray area. But the reality is, what I did was I said, hey, all right, I'm just going to respond. Now, Laurie, when you respond to a troll, do you delete a bunch of messages first that you write out? I'm a big write and delete guy before I actually get to my send, or do you just let the stream of consciousness come off?
I don't respond. I don't respond at all. I delete their comment. Trolls have no. I'm in charge of my own. Yeah, I don't respond. I mean, what they have to say has nothing to do with me or the way I see the world or what I'm saying. Like, they're not a part of that channel for me, and You know, if they're not like on the positive tribe train that we're on, they can just go away.
Yeah, I've had some, I've also had the ridiculous people, right, who just spit vitriol and grossness on my post, and I've thought about deleting it, but instead I just want to make a point of it, which is take it somewhere else. Don't bring that here. We're not about that here. I feel like deleting hate is supporting it in some way, and I don't want to do that. But trolls are different. Trolls are just jackasses. My buddy Jeff Hunter had a guy recently tell him.
Yes, I read that too. I read that.
He should stop doing YouTube. Yeah, the guy's got over 2 million views. He should probably stop doing YouTube. Like, get a life, really. Like, seriously. And it's probably.
And I think he just celebrated like 15 million followers or views or something. I mean, oh yeah, Jeff doesn't know how to do YouTube. He's got 15 million viewers. It's
right, like,
this is what I'm talking about. Like, here's my thought on trolls and haters. If they honestly have the time to go around and like spew hate on other people's posts instead of creating their own content. This is like Brene Brown, if you know her, always says, like, your opinion is not important unless you're in the ring with me. Unless you're within the ring with me. I'm botching the quote, but the idea is like, unless you're putting yourself out there with me, I don't want to hear it. Your opinion means nothing.
Yeah, it's something that most people get really concerned about. I watch young entrepreneurs, whether it's on LinkedIn or anywhere else. I watch them chasing entrepreneurs who are the same age as them on social media, who look to have this glorious, glamorous life. And it's always like, guys, what you're chasing is this of an imposter. It's someone that they're showcasing to you all the perfect points of something. But as a big baseball fan as I am, I've said a million times on my show that the best baseball players in the world, Hall of Fame players, will have done their job right as a hitter 30% of the time.
Right.
That means failure rate is at 70% of the time. So if someone always says, boom, 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 perfect, you can't trust it. If you ever get data back from a vendor and it just says 100%, 100%, 100%, never miss, they never miss ever, they're missing something because you don't always hit home runs. And when we started Carbon, one of the biggest things that rocked the vendor boat was we worked with folks who'd say, hey, give us your reports and give us a recap of 3 ups and 3 downs. What do you mean 3 downs? Dude, what are the downs? Whether you want to blame the client for something they didn't do, which is very easy for vendors to do, or how about this? You just missed the mark. You tried something different and it did not work. That shit is okay. It is being authentic and honest. Laurie, how do you when you deal with your clients, how do you walk? Because I know you have to walk the line I walk, which is they pay the bills, but in some decisions you got to push the right way. How do you balance that discussion of being the advocate, but also being the voice of expertise and reason?
No, that's a great question. And I've run into that a number of times throughout the years. I mean, and there's actually 2 different ways. Early on in my career, I had some huge actually just recently, I've had some huge projects, huge monthly retainers. And this kind of goes back to what you were saying about these young entrepreneurs. But they pushed and pushed and pushed, and this whole life balance that I'm talking about got out of whack because they were calling me on Sunday night and they were, texting me like, the social media isn't up yet. And it was like, whoa. So I've literally fired those clients before. So for me, money isn't the big motivator that it is for some others. For me, it's all about the relationship. So the clients that I have now, I have fantastic relationships with them. And when we disagree, I will generally say, look, here's what I think you should do. And here's what I suggest. Now, if you want to go in a different direction, I'm happy to go in that direction with you. But you need to know that my experience is saying we should do this. And I've had it go both ways. Sometimes I've had them say, great, let's go that way. And sometimes I've had them say, no, I feel really strongly. I still think we need to go this way. And I have to be honest, like it's probably worked out 50-50 to where some I've been right, some they've been right.
So Laurie, when you talk about the firing of clients, which I know sounds very odd to people, I myself, I'm a practitioner of such an activity. But I ask you, it's easy to say it now. Was it because it was not for me. So I'll be upfront now with people. That was not how I viewed the first 2 years of this business. Whatever people wanted to do that we could all make money with and make sense of, I did. Did you have the mentality from the beginning, or is it something you adopted once you saw just a little bit of success on your end?
Oh, totally. I mean, no, my first, remember that I've been in this now 18 years. So Probably within the last 5 years, I've had the confidence, the paycheck, and the knowledge that it's going to be okay if I let go of a big client. I can go find those dollars.
I want people to hear that, though. I want any entrepreneur that's listening or watching this, I want you to hear that. She's talking about the first 13 years of putting it in, man, of figuring it out before she came to a realization that potentially she could fire clients and work with whom she wanted to work because money was no longer the motivator.
Yes.
And that was 13 years, okay? So just relax on yourselves. If you've got the time to build your business, build it. And I'll tell you something, hiring somebody to do it for you ain't gonna do it. So any of these young entrepreneurs think you can hire the biggest salesperson or find the best piece of technology. If you want your business to grow while it starts, it's gonna come from you growing. That's it.
Well, and you've probably found, your personality is the type where you've probably found, like, I mean, I've definitely found this. There was a time a couple of years ago where I tried to transition into account managers because I was just like, whoa, we're getting too big and I can't scale at this rate. And I got a ton of furious phone calls from clients like, hey, we signed on due to you and for you, and we want to work with you. So don't give us these account managers. So it was a really good lesson for me. It was like, I am the brand, I am the company. And so that is what my clients are looking for, is to work directly with me.
Great. So what you have, maybe you didn't have to do this, and your personality and I, we do match up. I do not, there are multiple reasons why I do not like employees. 1 is headaches, 2 is overhead, and 3 is paying people. It's just never going to be the job that I want it to be. And I know that. I'm smart enough to know it about myself. I just talked about this with my ops director. I said, look, dude, you're getting to have to pull a lot of different data sets. It's getting outrageous. Do you need a second pair of hands to get involved? And he's like, dude, absolutely not. Because if we do that, then I got to look over what they did. And I'm like, exactly.
Yeah.
You're not going to trust they did it right, because then it comes in front of me and then I've got to present it. And so if there's a problem with it, he knows it's got to be his ass and not his ass plus somebody else's. So we decided, probably about halfway into car biz. We just celebrated 8 years. So halfway into car biz, we decided that we were going to have a cap. It was that simple. We were 3 people, sometimes 4 and 5 part-time people popping in, helping us out in certain projects. But for the most part, 3 of us. We all own equity. We all are part of the business.
That's
and
awesome.
We all pull, you have your job. We all have deadlines. It gets done, and that's it. But we know how many people we can fit inside that. And last month was one of our biggest months. And
congratulations.
Thank you. But doing 300 videos, you feel
that's a lot of videos
in your throat, in your body, and it's part of it. You've got to factor that, you know. And my wife will always be the one who's saying, Sean, are we there yet? Are we where? Are we at that damn cap, Sean? Because I'm feeling like you're on the phone. I feel like you're seeing everything and you're getting overwhelmed. And she's not wrong. But honestly, now we're just joking. A year ago this time, we were under siege, right? The business, everything was insane. It was people nowhere coming out of lockdowns, into lockdowns. The world was, and my phone, 24/7, dealers, clients, vendors, everybody.
Yeah.
Fast forward a year, my phone and email damn near silent for the last 8 years. Because it's the highest tide it's been since Cash for Clunkers. I mean, people are there. If you can breathe on a mirror, not only are you buying a car, but you should be able to sell one too. So
absolutely,
it's unbelievable the difference the year can
But
make.
I will say, for the entrepreneurs on your show, I think this is really important and something that I wish I had learned early on. I think if you want, it's okay to scale and it's okay to hire people to help you. I think the key is figuring out what it is you bring to the business that kind of brings the fire. And so for you and I, our personality as founders is what kind of brings the fire. And by the way, my personality with the editors for continuing those relationships for news. Sure. But I have many contracted writers behind me. I have many social media project managers behind me. So it was a matter of me finding out what is my greatest strength that I can bring to the business and keeping that sacred and keeping that piece mine. And then how can I scale the rest?
Yep. And that's absolutely how we look at it. And you talk about scalability. I had the conversation with I have 2 very successful, lucky to have 2 successful uncles, and had them at a Thanksgiving right after we started Car Biz. And we were starting to hit sort of a precipice where success was happening. And we were like, hey, wow, this is unbelievable. What do we do next? And I had them both sitting there and just said, guys, what do we do? You know, what am I looking at next? And they were both like, look, do you want $1 million business or do you want a multi-million-dollar business? I said, what's the difference? I said, $1 million business, you'll probably get to enjoy your life, have everything you've ever dreamed of, and be able to live in $1 million. multi-million-dollar business, you're gonna have tons of money, but you won't have much else.
Yeah,
How it will
very
be.
good advice.
You'll have way more headaches. You'll have way more overhead. You'll have way more sleepless nights because you're worried about employees and buildings and people. And I said,
Yeah.
guys, I'll set up for $1 million business. And now I'll take 3/4 of that. I don't even really care. I don't. To me, I just told my wife this. If you came to me and said, Sean, I'm going to pay you 60% less than you make today, but you can keep everything else in your life, I said, where do I sign? How do I sign? How do I keep my business going at whatever? That's why last year we gave our clients we gave them off 75% off during the pandemic.
Wow,
We
so
did
cool.
what we could because without them, at the end of it, it wasn't going to matter. None of it matters. And I'm kind of upset right now, Laurie, honestly, that vendors are coming back and they're trying to charge dealers for upping their rates, saying, well, we have to make up for last year.
Oh, I agree. I totally agree.
It's very
I think it's BS.
But I hope dealers understand that they are what stirs the drink. Without dealers in the world, no vendor, no anybody in my world. You're in PR, so I know you have other businesses besides.
No. I mean, to be honest, I work with the vendors who get paid by the dealers for their products. So no, I wouldn't be around without the dealer. I'm the same way. And I think what you're getting to is also so important. It's all relationships, right? Everything is about relationships. So the fact that you gave 75% off last year to keep dealers afloat is so key. And the fact that you're not looking to regain those losses, I didn't either. I cut a lot of my folks in half. But they stayed with me. Guess what? They're still my clients and we've come through it together and everybody's on better footing now. So I think if you keep relationships
together, I think we can survive almost damn near anything.
Oh my gosh, this last year has been crazy.
I know. I joke with people like, how did it go? I said, well, I always built my business with recession in mind. It was one of the first goals I'd ever learned from one of the first entrepreneur magazines I'd ever read. It was like, look, build it for a recession. If you build it that way, I did not build it for a pandemic. I did not know how to do that. It turns out it was the same sort of design, and it allowed for, as I said to you pre-show, we're all, there's 3 of us. 2 of us live under the same roof, me and my wife. My business partner lives under his roof. Those are the offices. There is no overhead. So when if profit isn't your driver, and I know this sounds like, oh God, he's such a hippie, and profit doesn't drive it. This isn't the Red Cross either. So that's not what I'm saying. But if profit isn't the driver, man, it's amazing what kind of stuff you can do with people and what you can get accomplished and how you can feel about your life.
You're so right. And like I talk about this a lot, I'll lose clients for any number of reasons. Generally, I'll lose clients over 3 things. They either go out of business, they get so big, they bring it in-house, PR, or they're bought by somebody. Those are generally the 3. So you have no idea how many times a client has ended, but the relationship has continued because we've built a relationship outside of that company and they've moved on and either brought me into the company that bought them. Like their company didn't succeed, but they went and started another one and they said, hey, we really loved working with you. So as we're saying that, like, of course, profits are important. Of course, dollars at the end of the day are important, but the relationships you build are what bring additional dollars. Like they can both coexist at the same time.
And there's no greater compliment than someone leaving a company and then calling you and asking you to come back on board with
totally agree.
With their new store. I mean, it is so freaking cool. And our business is grown by referrals anyways. I stopped selling as soon as we stopped trying to sell CarBiz, it sold itself and it took itself off and I couldn't be happier. I used to have BDCs, call agent. Oh my God, I tried all the stupid shit, wasted all the money. The reality was just add value to people, let other people start telling other people, and then it'll work itself out. So I really like how you speak about the idea of what reasons you're fired for. I get fired mainly because of me. And what I mean by that is that I get so invested in the business. I'm supposed to be the data guy, stay behind the scenes, hold people accountable, fine. But when people ask, feel compelled to answer. And when I do that, I typically get myself fired because in most cases I'll say, yeah, you should totally hire an internet director. Like you have too many things going on, too many stores. They do that. And the first thing the director does is fire me. And so well, that was stupid. That's how it's always happened to us. And I don't really care. And the sale part is always weird. That's like that weird transitional email where you're like, hi, I worked with the current owner. And they're like, don't care, fire, not paying. Like, cool. All right, awesome. Like,
Yes.
I used to like go out of my way and do like custom videos and like explain things to people and take them through it. And I'm like,
right.
Nobody gave a shit. So let's just ask them if they're interested in learning more. When they say no, we can just move
Totally. Yeah.
All right, you've been gracious with your time. I know, plus we're getting towards kid time or
So
close.
good.
So tell me, of imposter syndrome, do you feel like you're dealing with it now or have dealt with it and are on your way through it? Like, where do you feel like you fit into that discussion?
Oh, I still feel it every day. I mean, I'm in that meeting today with the women that I was in this morning, and it's like, wow, am I actually in the room with all of these ladies? And every single one of the women on that call, by the way, still deal with it every single day. So I feel like if you're with someone who says they don't have imposter syndrome, they're too high on that. I don't know, something's wrong, because almost everyone I've talked to still deals with it daily.
Yeah, I would say that I deal with it. I wouldn't say daily. And the only reason I wouldn't say daily is because until you brought it up, I probably didn't put an actual name to it.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't put a name to the doubt. But yes, I am I'm a little bit too self-consumed. I'm not going to lie to you about it. I view what I do with my life as pretty good for my life. And I feel like I've got a pretty good handle on shit. I don't have other stressors. I don't have kids. I don't have a lot of external personal relationships that get in my way. I'm fortunate to be married to my best friend, and I spend about 97% of my week.
And that's great too.
With my best friend. So.
I mean, the cool thing about this discussion is that we're both successful, right? So there's no one way to do it or wrong way to do it. It's just how each person comes to their current position.
But I think folks should definitely take a look and admit it to themselves. Again, right when you said it, I thought, this is something bad, and I hope I'm not suffering from this. But it turns out that it's not a suffer. It's more of an awareness. It's more of a, I think the murky middle is probably, you'll find very much like what Jessica explained to me, is this idea that you're kind of there. And you think you're halfway through your journey. And you kind of question, is this enough? And then how will I make this? And I just recently, I put that picture on your post and took my dad to the ball game for the first time.
Yes. I loved that.
We've done so much of it together. And I was said, Pops, I don't know, put my arm around, I said, I don't know how many of these we got left. He said, let me tell you something. We're not going to stop going to these until I either can't walk in here or forgot I was here. And I'm like, you got it. You know what I mean? Guy just turned 75. He wants to keep, we're going to do it. Laurie, thank you so much for being on the show. You are wonderful. Your women empowerment movement is so badass. I love supporting it at any way that I can. You guys all are you're doing it. I love that you're doing it. And I hope that more folks look around automotive and see it and really start to get involved, because it's really important what you're doing.
Well, thank you so much, Sean. And I just think the world of you. So thanks so much for having me on today.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much. As always, folks, you can find myself and Laurie, apparently, just like me, logged into LinkedIn all day. Pretty much available to you. You guys will be able to enjoy the show. Next week on the show, we're going to be going deep into the Mental Health Monday. You guys, you're not going to want to miss this one. It's going to be really fun. We're going to let someone with a huge background in mental health pick the topic. And frankly, I got to be honest with you, to be honest and to be authentic, I'm a bit nervous. I haven't done this interview yet. I am a bit nervous to do it. So tune in. Don't miss us. Thanks again for joining, everyone, and have a great week.